A new report finds plastic packaging is a direct source of microplastics in food. This comes from the NPJ Science of Food journal. It says simple actions like screwing and unscrewing the top of a plastic bottle can releases microplastic.
Nearly everything we eat and drink is wrapped in plastic. In fact, global plastic production more than doubled between 2000 and 2022. And now we're realizing it's showing up in our bodies too. One recent study showed the level of microplastics in the frontal cortex of our brains increased by about 50% between 2016 and 2024.
Plastic is everywhere, including where you can't see. Advancements in technology have helped scientists to discover microplastics within the last decade, which has environmentalists raising the alarm.
Here's a fun fact to start things off. The average person now consumes roughly a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. Not because anyone is chewing on water bottles, but because microplastics are quietly embedded into everyday life. They've been found in bloodstreams, lungs, placentas, and even inside newborns. And the strangest part is that the scientists weren't even looking for them in the first place. They just kept showing up. So today we're breaking down how microplastics get inside your body, where they end up, what science actually knows so far, and why this issue has become so normal that most people barely notice it. No panic, no scare tactics, just information people probably should have been told a lot earlier. Welcome to Beyond Surface Level, where we break down the hidden systems shaping your health, your environment, and your everyday choices without the fear-mongering. Let's get into it. Let's start with bottled water. Bottled water contains about twice as many microplastics as tap water, which is impressive considering people buy it because they think it's cleaner. Turns out the bottle itself is doing most of the work. Then there's heating food in plastic containers. Microwave safe simply means the container won't melt. It does not mean microscopic plastic particles won't migrate directly into your food. Synthetic clothing is another major source. One wash cycle can release hundreds of thousands of plastic fibers into the water system, the air, and eventually your body. And then there's indoor dust. Household dust contains microplastics from furniture, carpets, packaging, and clothes. You inhale it constantly. Isn't it odd that something as harmless looking as dust now carries plastic particles small enough to lodge in your lungs? Because once these particles enter your body, they don't disappear. What surprised scientists wasn't just that microplastics entered the human body, it was how far they made it. These particles weren't stopping at the digestive system like researchers expected. They were moving, crossing barriers, showing up in places that are normally very selective about what they let in. Blood samples, lung tissue, placenta tissue, arteries. In some studies, researchers only noticed them because something looked off. A shape that didn't belong, a texture that wasn't organic. Plastic doesn't announce itself. It blends in quietly and persistently. Finding microplastics inside artery plaque raised immediate questions. Arteries are designed to protect the bloodstream, not store foreign debris. And yet, there it was, embedded alongside fats and proteins already linked to cardiovascular disease. Lung tissue told a similar story. Plastic fibers where oxygen exchange is supposed to happen cleanly and efficiently. And then there was the placenta, the most protected environment in the human body, a biological filter designed to shield developing life. And even there, researchers found microplastics. Not enough to spark panic, but enough to spark concern. Because when a material shows up in places it was never meant to reach, the question isn't just how it got there, but it's what happens after it arrives. Here's what current research suggests. In laboratory and animal studies, microplastics have been shown to trigger inflammation, oxidative stress hormone disruption and cellular damage. They can carry chemical additives like plasticizers directly into tissues and interfere with normal cell function. What science does not yet know is just as important. There is no established safe exposure level, long-term human data is still limited, and cumulative lifetime effects remain unclear, which means we are all living inside a very large unintentional experiment. Chronic inflammation is already linked to many modern health conditions. So when foreign particles capable of triggering inflammatory responses become part of daily exposure, it naturally raises questions researchers are only beginning to explore. Some sources release significantly more microplastics than others. Plastic water bottles shed particles with repeated use. Takeout containers release particles when hot food is added. Plastic cutting boards shed microplastic fragments directly into food. Some tea bags release billions of microplastic particles into a single cup. Disposable hot cups shed particles from their plastic lining. Isn't it interesting that many of the biggest exposure sources are tied directly to eating and drinking? Convenience comes at a microscopic cost. This is not the part where you throw away everything you own. Small changes make the biggest difference. Using glass or stainless steel for drinks, avoiding microwaving plastic, switching to a wood or bamboo cutting boards, vacuuming dust more often, washing synthetic clothes in cold cycles. You don't need to eliminate plastic entirely, just reduce the highest exposure points. Less plastic today is still progress. This problem exists because plastic is cheap, cheaper than safer materials, cheaper than redesigning packaging, cheaper than addressing long-term consequences. Recycling sounds reassuring, but less than 10% of plastic is actually recycled. The rest breaks down into smaller and smaller particles that never truly disappear. Regulations move slowly. Industry innovation moves quickly, and companies profiting from plastic have little incentive to highlight the downsides of their own products. The system rewards convenience, not precaution. Microplastics didn't appear overnight. They accumulated quietly through habits that felt harmless at the time. Disposable packaging, synthetic materials, short-term convenience over long-term consideration. None of it seemed dangerous in isolation, but systems don't shift all at once. They shift gradually until the consequences are everywhere and no one remembers when it started. Sometimes the most important health conversations aren't about what we're doing wrong. They're about what became so normal that we stopped questioning it. Thanks for watching Beyond Surface Level. Stay curious, stay sharp, and I'll see you next Sunday. Much love.